Tell me about Philip Broberg's camp here in the quarantine camp. Obviously, we read the stories, and he's been standing out. So let's just put it that way.
He's been much better than I think the older coaches thought. Of course, they haven't had a chance to watch him. He was at a development camp, but not main camp after being drafted in 2019. And I think they were taking the scouts and Ken Holland's word for it, that he was a really good player. Ken's the one who drafted him in the first round, with the scouts, and the coaches didn't see him play. And now that they've seen him play, I think they realize that that year he had in Sweden last year as an 18-year-old playing against men was very beneficial. He was sheltered a bit in that league and didn't play as many minutes as some of the other players in Skellefteå, but he still was able at 18 to play in a men's league, and that's very evident here. He's not coming from the Western Hockey League, trying to make the top 10 to get into the bubble as an Edmonton Oiler. He's played against men, and he looks very decisive. He showed off why he was top 10 pick in the draft with his skating ability. He kind of skates like Jay Bouwmeester skates. Eats up the ice. He's got a long reach. I don't know what kind of offensive player he'll be in the NHL, because he hasn't really put up a lot of numbers in junior or in the Swedish Hockey League, but maybe he's a 30-point defenseman, and he's a top 4 defenseman who is more of a shutdown player. But he can really skate, and he scored some excellent goals in the camp. And to be honest, he's been better than Evan Bouchard's been. And Evan Bouchard is the #1 prospect in the organization. He's played a year in the American League. At worst, he's tied with Bouchard as the number 9 in terms of defenseman on the depth chart going into the qualification series against Chicago, with Caleb Jones probably 7th and William Lagesson 8th, and top 6. We've got Benning and Russell in the 3rd pair, and Nurse and Bear in the 2nd pair, and Larson and Buffbaum in the 1st pair.
And of course, we've known for the last 2-3 years or around that time that the Oilers' defensive depth on the farm has been broadening. We have Ethan Bear and Caleb Jones basically staking out regular spots on the roster this year with the Oilers, and now we have Broberg showing things in this camp. Yes, there's still Evan Bouchard and William Lagesson in there as well, and so again, it's a pillar of strength for the Oilers, whereas 5 years ago it wasn't.
Yes, and most teams, their strength is at forward, not on defense. And if you've got too many young defensemen, you can always trade one of them for a forward. You just have to make sure you're trading the right one, because there's a lot of them kind of look right, and they're not all the same sort of player. I think Lagesson's a defensive defenseman like Adam Larsson, only shoots left. Bouchard's an offensive defenseman like Justin Schultz was, a right shot offensive defenseman. Broberg is kind of a hybrid of those two, a really good skater, a better skater than both those two, but the same sort of size. And Caleb Jones and Ethan Bear. Jones has come in with the team as a pretty much a regular the last several months. Somebody who could play left side or right side, which obviously gives the coaches more flexibility in terms of playing in the lineup. You wonder where they would be if they didn't trade John Marino to the Pittsburgh Penguins last year, because Marino didn't want to play for the Oilers after coming out of college. And the Oilers traded him to Pittsburgh, and now he's in Pittsburgh's top 4. He was an excellent rookie this year. In that 2015 draft, when they picked McDavid first overall, didn't have a 2nd round, didn't have a 3rd round, and they got Caleb Jones in the 4th round, Ethan Bear in the 5th round, and John Marino in the 6th round. So their scouts did a tremendous job that year. As we point out, you can never have too many defensemen, and the coach is such a cliche, but it's very true. You never have too many defensemen, because you can always trade one of those defensemen for something else you need. You just have to make sure you're trading the right one.
Now, you can't have too many defensemen because you just don't know what the injury situation is going to be. Now, obviously, we still have a week or more before any games. Of course, that exhibition game against Calgary is coming up on the 28th. Would there ever be a time when Broberg would even play? It would have to be an injury situation this year, wouldn't it?
You won't play unless like I said, they've got their six. I think Mike Green would have been in their, worst, their seventh defenseman if he hadn't opted out. But he opened the door for some younger defensemen. I think, like as I pointed out, Jones and Lagesson, because they were on the Oilers this year. Lagesson was with the team, didn't play a lot, but he was with the team, and Jones played a lot. They're certainly ahead of him. So we would need a lot of injuries before they would play. But I think they brought him in to give him a little taste of what it was like to play with NHL players for this camp, figuring, well, okay, we'll just send him back to Sweden. Well, now I don't think he's going anywhere. They'll have 10 defensemen, and we'll see where they go. And Swedish league is not supposed to start late in September, so they can keep going as long as they want. And with the situation, it would be nice to see him in Bakersfield. That's out of sight, out of mind when he's in Sweden, but nobody's exactly too sure when the American Hockey League season's going to start. So it's probably better that you go back and play in Sweden.